after, we will begin the 2 o'clock work session for City Council, Monday, October 25th. And prior to our scheduled presentations and comments, Miss Brittany Katz of Terra Running has asked to say a word. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I just wanted to kind of report out and thank you all and thank the city publicly for the support of this weekend's Cleveland Half Marathon and 5K. So gave you all some race shirts and the medal. So we do a different Cleveland building every year. This year was the Lee Chapel. So we turned some into little ornaments for you. But this was the 4th annual Cleveland Half Marathon and 5K. We took a kind of a 1.5-year hiatus during COVID. And it was back with a new course this year. We started and ended at First Street Square downtown. So that was the first time I have used that venue for a race start and finish. And it couldn't have been more perfect. It was the perfect size. We had porta potties there and people really liked I really liked highlighting that park. I worked with the Cleveland Police Department to lay out a new course this year. So in previous years, the course had been almost 13 miles of closed road, and it was really complicated. It was a beautiful course for runners, but I knew it stressed Evie out. And so I started meeting with her about 8 months ago, and Evie met with me monthly for months to lay out this new course, because I knew that, if Evie didn't want to do it, the race wasn't going to continue. So I wanted the police department to be able to take on this task. So even with a simpler race course, we still hired 10 extra duty officers, plus Lee Campus Safety, to keep the course safe. Plus we had about 50 or 60 volunteers in the course. So it's still a pretty complicated undertaking, but I just told Bill this, I hate to be the one to say this, knock on wood, cross your fingers, it couldn't have gone more perfectly. It was perfect weather, we had over 300 runners, it was so good for downtown, it was so good for Cleveland. In addition to it being a great hometown race, I work with Melissa Woody, the Chamber of Commerce is our biggest sponsor, through Melissa and Tourism Development and Visit Cleveland TN. And we pull people from all over the Southeast. So even in a year that could have been, it could have been gone, with the thanks to the help of, Evie and the Cleveland Police Department, Campus Safety at Lee University, the Chamber and the city, and Joe Fibus, who took on this cool idea that Bill and I worked on for a race series. So this race was part of a 5-race series that's still going on to kind of get people into Cleveland City Parks, and this was one of those races. So I just wanted to thank you all very much. Traffic was not nearly as affected as it had been in years past, and thanks to Evie and the Cleveland Police Department, it went perfectly. So thank you all very much, and enjoy your t-shirts. Yep.
Councilman Hughes.
Has anybody up here bought any shoes from you lately?
Who's got shoes? I don't need to ask that.
Just thought I'd ask.
Yeah. Well, you can always go to my store if you need shoes.
We're supporting you.
I appreciate it.
I prefer Brooks running shoes.
Yes, Mayor Brooks is very loyal to the Brooks running shoes. But I appreciate everyone who's come in. If you ever want to do a 5K, our next one is Thanksgiving, in partnership with the Greenway, to celebrate their 20th anniversary. We're doing a 20K, which is about 12 miles, a 5K at Tinsley Park on Thanksgiving. So if you ever want to do a race.
Do you know how many states were represented?
I don't know that right now. I'm going to come back. I'd like to come back after this race series is over and kind of let you know how that went. That was something that Mr. Fibus's office has helped us with. And so I'd like to kind of report out on that then. But yes, many states, not as many as in the past. Racing has really changed since COVID. But we did have many people from out of town come to Cleveland and stay over, which was really cool. So it was nice to show off our town, for sure. But I'll get back with you on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Ms. Brady.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us today and for the kind words. On the official agenda for the 2 p.m., we have Mr. Chris Townsend has requested
o'clock meeting, I will be talking with the council about some issues that we had with PUD 25. I'm happy to answer any questions now, should you have any. But that will be the topic of conversation at 3 o'clock.
Any questions from the council? Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Next, we have on the agenda Miss Mallory Howard. Welcome back, Mrs. Howard.
Thank you. My name is Mallory Howard. I am from 155 Hiawassee Avenue. I don't know if I need to go into detail today at 2, or if we need to take things up at a later time this afternoon, but I am following up on the situation with the flood damage and water situation in my neighborhood. So I have a timeline for you if you'd like to hear that now, or we can wait till later this afternoon.
Let's hear it now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So on August 23rd, I did come to the city council meeting where it was stated openly that this flood situation has been acknowledged as a problem, and the city council and city mayor and people of that nature have known about the problem for quite some time. And we discussed possible resolutions and me talking to somebody afterwards and then coming to look at the property and things like that. Brian Turner did come out that same day and look at the property around 4 o'clock. At that time, I let things kind of settle, and about a month later, I sent an email to all the city council members, the mayor, Mr. Fibus, Mr. Joe, and I haven't received a response back from that yet, but that was September 23rd. On October 12th, I sent a text to Brian Turner for follow-up on the situation in my neighborhood, and I received a text back the next day saying that Public Works plans to start the section across the street from me by the end of next week. That same day, Public Works did come out to look at a ditch across the street. The next day, the 14th, they did clear the brush out of the ditch, but no other work was done on my side of the property, just across the street. I did ask to be put on this meeting to speak today on the 20th. On the 21st, as you may well know, we did have heavy amounts of rain. So much that I was standing in water up to my calves. I'm 5'11". In my front yard, backyard, water did go into my garage. So much so that I had to put my deep freezer up on wooden slats as a preventative to keep it from damaging it. At this point, I don't really know what else to do other than to ask for help again. I don't want to have to spend my savings to fix something that is not my fault, and it has been acknowledged as a problem. I'm not eligible for flood insurance because I do not live in a flood zone, so my question is whose responsibility and money is going to pay for my home when my home is damaged from the floodwaters? Because it's not a matter of if it floods, it's when, because it has done it already before. So I just wanted to reiterate the fact that it is a problem, as it's already been made aware that it's a problem. And it's my understanding as well that a property owner beside me has offered part of his property as a resolution to help fix this problem. That was done, I believe, in April of 2020, and there was not a response to that till September of 21, where it was a no, we don't need your property response to fix it. So I just want to take that up today if that's possible. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you. And I would welcome any questions if you have them.
Any questions from the council for Ms. Howard?
Yeah. Tommy, could you talk about the situation and address what can be done, what plans we have in the future?
In the future, we plan on piping some of it, but we did clear it out where the water would flow better out of the pipe, like she spoke of, on the other side of the road from her house. And those big downpours of rain, of course, she's at the bottom of the hill where it catches most of the water. We build our systems to handle a 10-year storm. Those storms that are larger than that, I don't know what to say. I mean, we were trying to work with it, trying to develop something to get it. I thought this would help her a lot by just cleaning slows the water down. But,
Yeah.
Brian Beck is working on a solution up there. He's still drawing up plans for it.
Okay. Tony, what about the brush on, I guess it'd be on the north side of Hiawassee, which would be on the east side of your property?
Yes, sir, to my knowledge, and I do have pictures, I have them on my cell phone, I'll be glad to print them off or email them to you. There is no brush on my side. It is completely taken care of because I cleaned it out myself. I hired one of my local friends to come and take down a tree, and I also cleared out brush that's in between my property and the property next to mine that's owned by another property owner. And I understand that it's been an issue and help clearing the brush may help. It did not help in the slightest, and I have pictures to show you if you'd like to see those. I guess my main point of concern is that it's been acknowledged as a problem. At the last city council meeting, it was acknowledged as an ongoing problem that was known about for years. And it doesn't just affect me, it affects my neighbors across the street, it affects the property beside and behind. And it's done it since 2018 at least. So I just would like some resolution other than I live at the bottom of wherever the water flows, because that's,
Tom, you're talking about Beck is looking at designing a drainage system.
Yeah, all the way down toward Gale Drive, and we're gonna work our way back, that's the way I understand it.
He's close. We're working with a property owner. We're close to getting an easement on some apartments. And
Is that on the apartments that would be on, I guess, south of her property?
South of her property.
Yeah.
And he's very willing to give us the easement. We're just working to figure out where best the pot needs to go. Is what Brian just texted me that, so he's listening.
Okay. So, I guess the bottom line from us is we're working on a plan, but I'm sure it's not quick enough for you, that problems you've had.
and I understand that. I
Yeah.
understand that it's a multi-person problem that has to be dived into and talked about and reworked and things like that. I'm just concerned that in the meantime, as I said before in the other city council meeting, winter is coming and our seasons are very rainy. I already have mold in my garage from seasons past, and I am trying to do whatever I can as a preventative to keep water from coming into it. But it's just simply not fair, in my opinion, that I'm the one that's directly having consequences from this, and I don't have the money to pay for it. I work for the county myself, and I've worked there for 11 years, but there's only so much that I can put back and save, and I've already spent upwards of $25,000 redoing the bottom of my house once already. So it concerns me because I don't know if you've ever watched it before, but it's a completely different feeling when you're watching your home fill up with water and there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing.
Yeah.
So I would appreciate some follow-up and some follow-through at this point.
Okay.
But I
Yeah.
appreciate you listening to me.
Well, and as you know, it's not a simple problem,
Right.
you know, and as we know, it's been an ongoing problem. And, but anyway, we'll see if we can speed up the design work and get the easements that we need on the lower side to put in that system.
And I can always follow up with emails, I can email pictures, but I can text Brian Turner monthly, bi-weekly, whatever I need to do to be of help to figure out what we can do, because I don't want to let this fall further anymore, so. I appreciate your time, and hopefully we will get something figured out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Councilman Estes, did you have a constituent that had some concerns or wanted to speak?
Would you like to ask for your street light here, or do you want to talk to us privately? Okay. I don't.
Perfectly.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to make public comments at this time during special presentation and public comments? If not,
Mr. Mayor, I mentioned this to gentleman, but Miss Wilmina Scott, she's the daughter of Miss Grace, right?
Right.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, I see you have it on the agenda, but she's here to speak on her behalf with it.
all right.
Now, I have a question for me about changing the streets, First Street to my mother.
This is Vice Mayor Johnson's referring to the city manager report under Section 2, Item D is the First Street name change. We had talked about it, and a list of homeowners had been presented to the council. Ms. Scott, thank you for being here. And Mr. Fivas, did you have an update on where we are on the number of homeowners that live on that street?
I'll address it when you're done with it.
Certainly.
Yeah, any more questions?
Any other questions from the council for Mrs. Scott? Mrs. Scott, thank you for being here. Mr. Fivas, you are recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Couple items. First of all, and I'll just give the report on the First Street. We had a lengthy list of about 50 or 60 people that signed for the petition to rename those streets, and we discussed that briefly. We went through our process, and we only have about 3 or 4 of those people. Is that about right, Jonathan? 4 or 5 that did there. We will be. So we thought there were a lot of people that we thought it would capture a little bit more of those, but I wanted to make sure that you are comfortable with us starting to go door to door and asking for people's signatures for the name change. You could do that, or if this group, I think it was Ron Davis that spearheaded it, if they want to go get signatures, that may be received better than the city going asking to change their name. And I'll talk to any of you, but it's in Bill's district. Talk to Avery, but we just want to have caution that sometimes when you go and say, hey, we want to change your name, is that it's the city that's wanting to change the name. It might be helpful if we have someone from the neighborhood spearheading getting those signatures for those properties, and we have a sheet put together that we could just hand them for people to sign. So that's just kind of the update. We have a little bit more due diligence to do before we could bring that to the council.
I thought the petition that they got they have signatures on it. I think everybody signed the petition, or maybe 1 or 2 people.
They went to door, and they signed it. I think we had one person on that street that did not sign, as far as I know, but they have petitioned for everybody to sign.
Yeah, and some of them I think are renters versus the property owners. So we'll have to, there's to differentiate between that. And if the council is just comfortable with having the renters sign that, we can give you another list, and that's probably a little bit more. But I think the list I saw was only about five or so of the houses that actually have the owners sign the petition. So, y'all don't need to do anything. We're just letting you know that we have to we're going to have to do more due diligence and probably roll up our sleeves and do that unless there's some objection to us going and asking for that name change. Thank you. I want to comment very briefly on the issue at Hiawassee. One of the struggles we have is that right on that crossing that we have, because it's kind of a bowl and there's smaller pipes in there, but you have a CU sewer pipe that's going right down that drain. So we've been talking, and that's one of the things that I don't think was articulated, is that we're trying to figure out, how do you, water comes down around the corner, that we need to get more water under the road faster, and that's what Brian Beck is talking about. It's not that big of a project, but it involves a lot of Cleveland utilities, coordination, but we're prepared to do that. We didn't know that there was additional flooding. I will say that the work that Public Works did out there was a fairly substantial job, what, right, Tommy? The work out at Hiawassee was fairly substantial.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't that we went and cleared a thing, it literally was redoing the ditch line and doing that. So I want to make sure that everyone fully understands that I think they went and did the job that they felt was going to help the situation.
But Joe, you're saying that the drainage under the road
Yes.
is too small to keep the flow going that's on the north side.
Yeah, because what happens is the road sits up high and it acts
Yeah.
as the dam and it backs up.
It does, yeah.
And that's the next point that we need to fix. And what I'm telling you and Ms. Howard is that we'll expedite some way to figure out how to get more water into that road faster.
So we're talking about maybe we have to cut the road and put in a larger tile.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but you're talking about the elevations of the wastewater and water lines, and which,
there's a conflict.
yeah, the wastewater probably can't be moved because it's on a gravity flow.
No, we're not gonna ask them to do that.
Yeah.
But we're looking at that. I just want you to have a little bit better context of what the issue is I will tell you that I think Public Works, the work they did out there was fairly substantial, redoing that, and it probably, they helped with some of the storms that are probably where you get more water. The issue out there, and we go out there fairly frequently, and wanted to make sure you knew that, go and look at it. You know, when we had the hurricane come through, we had 15 inches of water, and I can show you pictures, I can pull them out right now. After 15 hours of rain, fairly substantially, if you remember that, there were no issues at that time. So it's clearly these micro bursts where you get 3 or 4 inches of water,
Right.
and it hits that dam and it backs up, and then it recedes, and that's the next thing that we need to figure out. And we're committed to do that. We thought that we had fixed a little bit of that, and obviously, Mother Nature told us that we didn't. So we're going to the next level, and the next level will be seeing if we can find a way to get that water
Yeah.
happen.
And you're
And it may be lowering the road and letting the water go over the road,
over the road, yeah,
potentially.
yeah. But you're right, the road acts as a dam, and you've got a lake, you know, when you get these quick, heavy rains.
Yeah.
And,
So, like I said, it's not a matter of the quantity of water. Like I said, after 15 hours of continuous rain, I can show you the pictures right now that it wasn't backing up. It's these microbursts
but that was a steady rain,
that was steady rain.
yeah.
So that doesn't help Ms. Howard for me to say that. It doesn't help any of you,
Yeah.
but just to give you a sense of what that is. But we're working on that, and we'll give you an update on what our next steps are.
Thanks.
Joe, how about what Ms. Howard said about an offering on the next door to help the situation? Will the next door, the next lot help
No.
Ms. Howard's situation?
No, it's
It's
the other
the
way.
dam issue that's downstream.
Yeah, okay.
Is what the issue is, and we have to find a way to fix that, right, Jonathan?
Yeah, the pipe that's there now does meet our design standards, it's just our design standards, there are a lot of storms that exceed that, so you're gonna have to go larger. The problem is, to get a cover over that road with, they don't really make a pipe that big,
Yeah.
so we're working on it.
So the issue, if you look at the structure of the road and what Jonathan just said, is that you have the pipe and then the road sits up so much higher, is there's a lot of, we have that situation all over the city, the pipe's right, it always, but when you get those mitigating circumstances, those microbursts, it just goes over the road and keeps on going to where it's gonna go. In this case, the road is acting as a dam and backing up. And that's what we need to fix fairly quick for Ms. Howard. And now, we thought that getting the brush, and, because we thought that maybe it was backing up from the brush coming back, and evidently, no, it's just
The road.
It's just the road.
Yeah.
So we're on that, and appreciate Ms. Howard coming today, and I'm talking to us about it.
Thank you, John, and staff.
All right, turn the lights up and have some fun. We're going to talk a little bit about a project that we've been working for the better part of 6 months on. We're pretty excited about this. It's a street condition survey, and basically, in short, it evaluates every section of road in the city. Our methodology for getting there is we had 3 disciplines go out independently and rate. You know, we had different pictures of roads, and this is, and from a scale of 1 to 100 to 1, meaning 100 is the best road, 1 being the worst. And they went independently and rated every section of the road. So you might have every block as a section, and you'll see how it's broken down when we get into it in a moment. And basically, we've come up with a comprehensive snapshot of what our road system looks like, and how, and where our strengths are and where our weaknesses are. And I think it will be a great tool for all of us to be able to use and to evaluate our investments in the road infrastructure. After the data was gotten together, we had Billy Myers, we had Scott Caldwell, and Dave Shealy, all traffic disciplines, someone that works on the roads, and an engineer, all different disciplines, all looking at a little bit different things. And so they all had input into this. Chris Gaylor did his GIS magic and pulled this immense amount of data together to this useful format that we can all utilize and go. So a couple things here. You see here, we have 354 miles of roads that Tommy Myers and Public Works has to maintain and manage and take, which is a good amount. And that actually breaks it down into feet. We have 1,862,000 feet of roads that we take. So we have it down to the foot on where everything is located. What you're looking at up here in this corner, this 66, remember we had these scales and you had maps of what a 100% road looks like. You know, you have the cracking and alligating, I can never say that word. You have, you know, where you have street cuts, and if there's a certain number of street cuts, it lowers the quality of the road. And there's this scoring formula that they use to come up with that. So overall, our entire system is a 66. We would like to get that number, and we'll come back to this, but just up front, up to 75. 66 is a good, solid number, but we think 75 is where we need to be for our entire system. So here we are, but here's the thing is you have roads that act like Peerless, that have tens of thousands of people ride them on a day. Then you have some streets, as you see in some areas, that will have 5 or 6 cars a day. And how do you evaluate those compared to each other, and how does that work? First thing I want to go through is what this does is it has all kinds of filters in what we want to go through, and I want to start with the highways. You have the freeways. Here's all the freeways in the city that would be designated freeways. To give you an idea is that you have the dark green, which are your very good roads. Is there the scale? I can't remember what they are.
Yeah.
Then you have there it is. The dark green are good. The light green is satisfactory, and that's from 70 to 85. That means it's within its life range and it's doing well. You have fair, which means, well, it's starting to show some signs, you know, kind of get on your, then you start getting in from 25 to 55, and those are poor streets. Those are the ones that, you know, you have potholes and cracking and the rideability is really off. And then you have your failed. That means that they're just, it's barely really drivable, safely drivable area. So you have your highways. Your highways are in satisfactory condition, and that's a bonus, and we give the state credit for keeping those in good repair. Then the next level.
Joe, how do you
Yes.
determine what a highway is from a street? I mean,
It's the federal, is there a definition?
As the state, we use their classification system. There's
Okay.
a arterial, collector, local road, and freeway. That's how they classify them.
Okay, so, and you know, I'm thinking about roads like Michigan Avenue, Tasso, so they would not be considered highways.
No, and it's really freeway is what they call it.
Yeah,
Or
highways
freeways.
mostly are
That would be
freeway.
the bypass.
We can
have the
drill
bypass.
right into those roads if you have specific questions. We can take
Okay.
them there.
Yeah.
So then the next last, and then this is where you're looking at, this is,
Collectors?
at the next, Megan.
Well, I guess arterial would go to.
So you have, this is the major collector, that's the next largest.
Or major arterials.
Or, I'm sorry, the major arterials, which is the next size down from the freeway, or from the freeways. And this one you have, you have Peerless here, you have Paul Huff, you have your Tasso, you have your Michigan Avenue out here, and we can drill into them and give me a moment and we'll
Okay.
give you that. So you see your South Lee Highway here, you see some of your APD 40 out here. So let's drill into Michigan Avenue. So you go and you click on it. It's right here. So for any length of road, this will tell you all about that. Michigan, there were the 3 scores. You had the 3 people that went out and scored it. And it's rated as fair. Was it inspected? Here's your average. And all of that. We then go to Old Tasso or Tessa. So there's Old Tasso, and that rated as a 49, a 47, and a 52, which is about right. I will say that, you know, Tommy and Billy Myers, which are the ones that have organized our street paving schedules for a very long time, and what we're going to show you is it's amazing at how well they equally distributed that. They deserve a lot of credit for being able to do that. So for every street, you would have that. Is that red?
What's that, this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the segment highlighted, so each
Yeah.
segment will be.
Yeah, so there's 3 segments on Old Tasso, and we can go and break it down to which segment has different qualities, and you
Interesting
see
that
where the really bad areas
Tasso
are.
scored worse than Michigan.
But I want to point out, so you have in your major arterials, which is a mix of some state roads and some city roads, is your overall score in the city is 67%. So we're right there. We have 68 miles. Those, like I said, those are the roads that are carrying tens of thousands of people a day. Those are your major streets, and this is probably where you get the biggest bang for your buck. We'll go to the next. Next one is your major, or it should be the minor arterials.
Yeah, sorry, I think I actually included that on the last one with the major
Okay.
arterials, but.
Okay. So just do the major arterials.
Okay.
All right, so these are your major arterials, and I apologize for that. So you have Key Street, Lee there, and now just do your minor arterials. So redoing that, so for your minor arterials, which are the next step down, it's the roads that we just talked about. Those are your minor arterials, but those are still major, obviously roads carrying tens of thousands of people a day. That would be north of Coy through here, south of Coy, and all that. So you have your freeway, major arterials, minor arterials, and then you have your major collectors. That's on minor arterials.
Joe, did safety enter into the grading system?
No, but we're gonna incorporate that, is that there's different layers that we will add over time. That's a great question, is that we will take our traffic data and we'll overlay that, so there'll be another button and you can look and see where the hot spots are you'll be able to overlay the traffic versus the road condition. We also are working on curb evaluation of whether our curb needs to be replaced in some other areas. And then we also have another layer of where we have street cuts. How many street cuts do you have? And you can go and look and see all of that data. So those are the next layers that will come into this. And we already have a layer, and I think we showed it to you in the past, those sidewalks, that we can show you sidewalks on how they match this. So these are your major collectors. Your overall score is 58, so you're below your average or your median. We don't have as many of those. And then go to your local streets, and these...
Is the red one 17th there?
It is.
It was, yeah.
Okay. So once 17th is cleaned up, that average will go up.
Yes.
Yes.
And are those weighted by how many feet, or is it only weighted by street by street? when you
Street
set the
segment,
average?
but it's each segment, and then each segment has its own score.
Okay.
So it's longer, it'll be broken down.
Yep.
Yeah. Most of them are block by block.
Okay, that precise, great.
Yeah.
So this is your local streets, right? This is just your local? It's just local. So these are all your neighborhood streets in here. And so you can look at there. So it's good, our neighborhood streets are right at the mean. We want this number to eventually to get up to 75. So, we need to continue to work on that. It shows you where some of your strengths are, some of your weaknesses are. And so you can go and sort it by street type. Now, we can also sort it by district. So let's start with the first district. So you can go and these are all the roads of all different types. And you can sort it, you can have the first district and local roads and do those different complex sorts, I'm guessing. So here you are, it's 67, so it's first district is right at the mean. And this is what I mean is that Tommy and Billy Myers have done a great job, is you're gonna see that they have equitably distributed the funding for roads around the city for a long time by their methodology. So this validated what has been going on. So you can go and click on some of these little red areas and you is there any roads you wanna see specifically?
South of Coy.
South of Coy. There's your numbers for South of Coy for one segment. If you go up here, up at this corner, I think it's a lot worse. Or is that the one you?
There from, like Graveyard Hill down to the graveyard, there's a lot of patching in there.
Yeah, that when they started digging it up, we did this evaluation last June. So this probably did not capture that, but the good thing is what Tommy Myers is going to tell you later today is that South of Coy should be fully paved probably and hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So that, and when we get that, we'll go and we'll replace that and it'll be all green and improve that. So is there any other street you want to look at? You want to look at Grove Avenue? Let's look at Grove Avenue.
Where's Grove?
Right there, right there.
So it's a mix of light green and green, so it's obviously probably been paved in the last 5 or 6 years.
It's been cut up some too.
Yep, yep. So let's go to District 2. Now, District 2, you're going to see this, is that this number is a little low. If you break it out, a lot of it is because you have, in this district, you have the old alleys that are included in this. Like if you go to Winnetonka, which I think is right there, that you have some, that it acts as an alley, but it has 20 houses on it.
Jacobs is on there, and no one in this town can find Jacobs. Tommy, I'm surprised this made the list. This is amazing. Some of the streets in my district you found.
So like Winnetonka was an 18, a 17, and a 20. So we clearly, in this area, have some work to do. Again, this is not, this is not neglect. These roads are not traveled very heavily. A lot of these are old alleys, but it's identified, hey, with a small amount of investment, it's probably easy to get caught up into, to identify some of these. So go to District 3. Councilman Cassidy's district, so you're at 68, you're just about right at the median. Is there any streets you wanted to see?
Just pick one out.
Let's look at Mountain Road.
That's green, yeah, they repaved it a couple of years ago.
Pave that, and
Still got the
here's
index.
what's this little red one?
Just going off the thing of
Ridgeway
Ridgeway.
Court.
So it's 20, and if I recall, that probably needs a little bit of work on it. So again, it tells us some areas that we need to look at. This is not meant for Tommy to not use their system. Their system is working. It's meant to give everyone some information on what's going on in the road system. District 4. Right here. So District 4 is right at the median.
Yeah, look at Bowman Circle Drive.
Bowman Circle Drive.
I don't know who lives on here.
You know where that is?
Just on the phone.
Oh,
That's Bow
it's
Street.
not even on there.
I think we de-annexed that one.
I think so.
So, where's it at? This one. Click on it. So Bowman Circle Drive is rated a 65, a 61, and a 67 for an average of 64. And then you can go and see all the different roads. And then you have the different segments going through here, and they're all going to score somewhere. So obviously, this whole area was probably paved probably within about 10 years ago or so.
Probably.
So you see the paving cycles, we probably paved this at one time, we probably paved that at one time, and you can see the degradation of the road system. We can go to District 5. And District 5 is a little bit higher. Probably some new construction, but it also has some areas that there's some areas that are new, and then there's some areas that need some help. This area is right along Peerless Avenue. Some of those neighborhoods need some help. Let's look at Indian Hills. Or Tomahawk is what it would be. So 36, 48, 40. That's probably right there that we need to, that needs to be looked at and done at some point. So anyway,
Is there a formula to weight arterial versus neighborhoods? And I mean, you could chase 75% across the city by doing the big, you know, is there a way to weight that? And
That's the next phase, Jonathan and I have talked about that, is that we have the traffic volumes, and what we would do is we would weight it so it would artificially bring down Peerless a little bit, based off of what the average daily traffic was, so it would bring it further in the list faster. We have not implemented that, but we certainly have talked about what that would look like.
so, what the example you just gave, I like just the opposite, right? Meaning, I think the residential should get weighted heavier, because they're never gonna catch up with any kind of weighting system the other way. You know, and so, when you go back to the second district and you say, look at all these areas, we put sidewalks down Chippewa, it is radically changing, and we put in curb and guttering, it is radically changing the neighborhood. So it's not always about traffic in the neighborhoods, it's also about new home starts, remodels, calming the neighborhood, crime, I mean, there's a lot of things you can't weigh in a neighborhood. So I don't want, I knew exactly where that would weight. I would kind of, let's not forget the neighborhoods on how much ancillary benefits we get.
Yeah, and if that, so we think having it just straight up, and showing some of these other neighborhoods, probably works more in your favor than having it weighted for traffic.
That's what I'm asking. And to your, I'm gonna echo exactly what you said. Tommy, I mean, it's terrible you're being replaced by software. All right, it validates just how talented you are.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I know Joe is saying that, but I want to say it very loud and very clear. It's been 12 years since I've had a complaint, really, about something and brought to your attention and you said, yeah, I overlooked it. You know, it's just, you've done super, and mine's a very difficult district, and you've done super, so.
I appreciate it. We got a good group of guys.
Well, you've stayed on top of it well.
Yeah.
It wasn't disclosed that you developed this program, is that right, Don?
Yeah. But, Joe, what Bill's talking about, I'm concerned about a problem that is not an easy fix, is the safety on some of these roads. And I'll use Michigan Avenue for an example. We don't have the right-of-way, you know, and even though the pavement is in pretty good shape, the right-of-ways and ditches and all that is pitiful. It's safety, really a safety factor that some way we're going to have to eliminate along the way.
And I think it would be good to be able to have the data to be able to pull it so you can see comprehensively.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
Don't you think that's possible to add an overlay that you can put the street condition and then have your little zones or stuff where you have, because if you put the traffic data in there, how would you do that?
Absolutely. Yeah, you would just tie it into the table and use the same filters and tools. It's just an extra step as well as in the software.
Yeah.
We talk about the shoulders off the roads too, that don't have shoulders. Just goes from road to ditch line. I mean, that goes to what you were saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
On Michigan Avenue, because there's not a shoulder, it's just a line and then a ditch.
And you drop off, yeah.
Yeah, it can all be added as factors in there, and that may be a good one when the curves are being collected.
Yeah.
They can capture that at the same time.
And I mean, we've got roads that was built for low volume, and all of a sudden we've got high volume and higher volumes coming. We've got developments along these roads, and I think that's on our road system is really going to be a major thing in the future.
And it's good to be able to see just a similar map and say, here's your hotspots, you know, here's where they are, and these are the areas where we get, you know, we all get the text and figure out where the accidents are. And I will tell you that Marcia McKenzie has been recently the biggest advocate of looking at accident data and are we looking at that enough? And so I think that we can build that.
You know, I mean, all of us have got roads in our district, you know, that Sunset is another one. You know, it's a very dangerous road. Tommy has worked wonders to make it safer, but he can only do so much. We don't have the right of way. And
Joe, one more street in District 2, Benton Pike.
Might be in 4.
It's on the edge. See there.
There it is. Right there. Yeah, so it's rated pretty well, but if you notice that a lot of Benton Pike is still listed, it's either, it's in the county. So this section of Benton Pike is in the county.
The section I'm looking for is really on, like around East Street, it runs into Benton Pike.
Go north and you're there.
Probably one reason why it's so good is because with the largest plant, one of the largest plants we got in near the city of Cleveland, of course, is Northwood site. And we did a lot of work on it before, just to get it to accommodate all the traffic that's going to be out in that area. And that's probably what's causing it to weigh so good, because all the data is showing up there. But I'm wondering about east side of it.
So,
Yes.
yeah, I'm not sure where east is in there.
Yeah.
There it is.
yeah,
So here's a section of it. What was that score?
Was
42, 38. So it's in the need to be looked at for sure.
it's not a safe street.
Councilman Webb, you had a question?
I did. I just wanted to comment on David's remark about the right-of-ways and how limited they are. And I'm not sure how we get to this point, but I think it's probably critical that we start looking also at new development, and that some way we reserve some right-of-way getting to some of those, so that 10, 20, 30 years from now, another group is not talking about we need to do something, but we have no right-of-way. I'm not sure how you do that.
We have been talking about that at the planning commission. When we approve cluster developments, when we approve, mostly now, well lately the big ones have been PUDs. So asking for extra turn lanes, for stacking, for right-of-way on
Yeah.
different streets. City staff has been more attentive to that, very much so at the planning commission.
But you know, 20 feet would make a huge difference.
Sometimes 10 feet makes a
Right.
huge difference.
and you know, a prime example of that is, I mean, we forget about Ocoee Street. That third lane, Tommy pulled that one out of his hip pocket. And Coffee stayed into doing repaving. We had a little right of way, made it all happen. And you know, every time I go home, I think about what Ocoee Street would have been if it was still 2 lanes without the center turn lane. We got problems now, we just think what it would have been.
Well, Bill, kind of keep us updated on that discussion if you would, because I think that's critical.
Yeah, I mean, just letting Jonathan and Corey know that here from us helps them as they negotiate these going forward, knowing that how important from David and you bringing that up here. It really does start with staff. right?
It does, Bill.
The legislature does have a bill in Nashville that would allow cities not to reserve right-of-way from those development stuff. It's something that we're watching fairly closely.
Yeah, I was thinking about in District 3, the heaviest traffic road that carries the most traffic is probably Freewheel or Kansas Lane. How is Kansas Lane rated?
Well, we just paved it, so it's gonna be 100.
Okay. It needs it. It needs, because it's some traffic in the morning, if you're out there 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, it's backed up all the way down.
Yeah.
You used to
Well,
do
the
that.
one section here should be, Tommy, when will that section be paved?
Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, by mid-November.
So it is planned before the end of the
Yeah,
year.
it's not completed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have to come in and do South McCoy, because that's,
Billing to do and everything too.
Right.
Freewheel Road, you've really got a right-of-way problem, because this is too narrow.
What's that?
Freewheel Road, do you think it's too narrow for all the
I
developments?
think the NPO is gonna address that with the state if they get it to the point where the state takes over excess.
And some of it's in the
And some is in the county. I think it's gonna benefit the city and county both when they get to the point where they can, and if I'm talking out of turn, please let me know, Joe, is that, or Mayor, you represent this, that they'll go in and, from my understanding, widen it a little bit and take care of the road. It'll be like Eureka Road, you go down it. It's so much different from Freewheel. You go across 60, the Eureka Road, it seems like it's wider and you got a little bit more shoulders.
It's a state road.
Yeah, it's a state road, so at some point when they do that, hopefully they'll get that done, that improvement will be made by the state on that part.
Yeah, what are your comments, Joe, on Paul Huff extension? You think that's gonna happen? I know it's a floodplain if they go straight across the Freewheel Road. But the church, at one time had agreed to let the city, if they did extend it over the Freewheel, come up next to them and go across out of the floodplain.
I believe they've changed their position on that.
Didn't it?
Well, at one point, I don't know what it is today.
Yeah, we haven't talked to them in a couple of months, or maybe 6. It's been a while.
It sure would be nice if that was opened up, because I mean, this Freewheel Road is heavily traveled. And they're coming out Kansas Lane, they're coming out Bellum. They're going all the way to Hopewell, the school traffic and all those coming out there. They definitely could use a Paul Huff extension to get across the Freewheel.
Any other questions on this?
Joe, I just want to say one thing. I'm glad we have a young man that has the intelligence to put such a sophisticated system together, that we can look at this and,
Sure.
Mr. Gaylor, hats off to you, my friend. Really, really good stuff.
Thank you.
Really good.
Thanks.
And don't think we don't, I mean, and I know you're 100% sincere, but there's a lot that goes into this. I mean, Chris has been building this for months and.
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah.
Councilman Cassidy, you had a comment?
Yeah, Joe, I don't expect anything now, but can you share with us maybe at the next meeting, at your workshop, that, as far as, where we're at now, 66, and you want to get us 75, how we're going to get there at that point? I don't, bring some solutions or options that we can do to get us to where you think we need to be at?
well, we have a number of, we think if we just stay the course, because we have some fairly large, when you do Paul Huff, that will be a major paving. We have Atkinson that will come up, that will be major. We have Parker on here, which is probably rates about a 4 or 5 right now. That will be paved. But we've identified
17th, 20th.
17th and 20th, and 20th is huge. Let's add those in, and I think that number, what do we think would be up to 71?
Something like that, close.
Yeah, so we've run that as just keeping the
Path we're on
investment.
now.
We have, go back to
I guess what I'm getting to, is it gonna take more funding to get there to where that is? or-
Well, it's not,
I'm just asking a question.
yeah, not the totality of the system. Some of these areas that are red, we'd like to knock off some of these and make that one of our goals. Hey, let's get some of these red things off. But, and there's the distribution.
10K, 10 kilometers
Yeah, 6.2
That's it.
miles.
Yeah, yeah.
to knock out all the red.
Yeah, and we think that's the thing, but the answer, Council, and I think that's a really good question, is, from a funding standpoint, what we think the biggest issue in this, from a funding standpoint, that the numbers don't necessarily catch, is go to the minor arterials. Is that, you know, you're a little bit, go to the major arterials. I'm sorry, the minor. So here's where we think, this is really what makes Cleveland go, when you're talking about McCoy and 25th Street, Michigan Avenue, and, that's Peerless right there, and you have Tasso, and then you have, you know, all that. Right here, and talking to Tommy, is, your question of funding is, these roads will go down very quickly, and you see they're on the wrong side of the median. So we're watching these closely, but to pave Peerless, and some of these are major investments. I mean, Peerless is probably about $1 million there. If you recall, probably a few months ago, we said of using, is it the 3 Rs?
Yes.
3R program from the state on the MPO funding, is that you get the state 20%, we put in 20%, easy projects, you don't have the environmental reviews, you don't have the design, you get right through it, you get 80% of the state money, and you do that.
So you think it'll go quicker than 17th and 20th?
Wow.
That's tax.
I mean, yeah.
Is this, Chris, is this web portable?
It is,
Is it our decision to put it up?
I guess.
Let us refine it,
Okay.
and we can add some of the other tools in there when we get it ready for prime time. Because we would like to get some of the other layers, we'll get some of the safety stuff. I think that's actually a really good idea.
And on the safety thing, if I could add one question, Jonathan or Chris, Joe. Sometimes making streets better makes it faster and less safe. Is there a way to gauge that?
Speed bumps.
No, gauge the safety of when you make roads better, you speed them up. And so we talk about road diets, we talk about other things. I mean, that's like one of those effects you don't want, you know, unintended consequences of making certain streets better. So as we think about safety, I would just say it's almost each little segment is its own decision, rather than having blanket, you know, just a thought.
There's some areas that, Peerless being one, Peerless, there's some potholes in Peerless. It self navigates at speed limit, But it's a good question. Because a New Paley Road, you're going 10 miles an hour faster. That's what our concern is listening to Avery and Ken and Tom is on Candy's Lane, is that, without some of the devices we put in there, and they still may, is that's gonna be a 60-mile-an-hour road.
That is much better. The devices that were put in have slowed down that Candy's Lane. Tom, would you agree?
Yes, sir, I would agree. I would.
I've traveled it several times, and it seems to have really slowed down. People say they get on top of the hill and really take off, but they can't do that anymore.
I got a call from an individual that lives out there during all that process that was really, really concerned about all that.
Yeah.
And he called me the other day.
Into your mic.
He said, I got a call from an individual that lives out there, that was really concerned during all that process and said, it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work. And he called me the other day and he said, I was wrong, this is great, it's working.
It is.
I agree. Just give it time.
I get a call too, from some people off of Kansas Lane. At first, when we first put it in, and we did build it to where it slowed traffic down. But the problem is that we build it for cars, because that's 90% of the traffic on the road, most of the time is cars. But then you have school buses that come along. And if you have a big truck to come through, then they're trying to turn and maneuver through those places where it's designed to slow traffic down.
That's right, that's right.
So that's where the problem is at.
Well, we did make some adjustments on that coming out of Emmerich,
Yeah,
going on
we
the
have
Candies.
now.
I mean, the drawing showed it was, the radius was too tight, and with that, the developer, I said Wright Brothers brought it to our attention, and we went out there with Brian and actually adjusted back to make the radius wider, so a school bus could get out of there.
It's a lot better, a lot better.
And actually, there's some improvements to be made on it yet, with the striping and so forth.
We're about to go to jail. Tell Kevin we're about to go to jail.
Hey, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
want to exit this and call the meeting to order?
Yeah, I
and
don't,
then-
I heard Councilman Estes say we're in jeopardy, But just before we exit the work session and enter the regular session, I did have it on my notes, as you have already said, Mr. Fibus and many of the councilmen and women, about the great job that Tommy's doing in the road department. I happened to be driving around this past week, Sequoia, Brad, Davis, Candies, portions of Blythe Ferry, pothole filling in, and just kudos to the road department on all the hard work that you guys have been doing in this season. It is very noticeable. And with that, we will exit our work session, and we will begin, unfortunately without a break, ladies and gentlemen, the 3 o'clock work session. So we will end our regular work session and begin the regular session, it now being 3:08.
You can take a 5-minute recess.
Yeah, can we take a 5-minute recess?
Okay, I have, that's non-debatable. Recess for 5 minutes.